Well, good morning, everybody. This is just a quick little video to demonstrate how to get the effect of your object piece, in this case, a little flower, to look as though it's been carved separately and then applied to a flat piece of leather. It has everything to do with depth, definition, and detail. This is not a quick process, so if you're a production type worker and you have, hundreds of orders to do, this is not going to be for you because it does take a little bit longer to achieve that. But for most everybody else, it's well worth the extra couple minutes or so it takes to do this. So this is what we're looking to achieve. This is just a turned maple leaf that I did. And if you see, it looks like that leaf is applied to a flat piece of leather. And in my eyes, in my opinion, that's what good leather work is all about, is making it appear as though it's a separate piece applied to it. And the only way that you're going to get that is through the processes that I'll show you here. And it's actually a pretty simple process that you can use on pretty much every one of your projects that you do. And that'll just make you stand out so much more in the crowded field of leather workers. So, pay attention, take notes, or just, play it over and over again. But it's well worth watching. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started here. And of course, I have to put my glasses on, otherwise I'll be carving on the stone. But basically, the first thing we want to do is just go ahead and cut the pattern out. This is just a simple flower pattern that pretty much everybody has seen before. And the depth that I carve is about 1/3 of the thickness of the leather, maybe slightly more, but you don't really have to carve deep to achieve the effect. It's not all about the depth of the cut. It's more about the precision of the cut. And of course, I'm partial to my little micro knife here to do intricate carving with, but you can do it with just about any kind of good swivel knife as long as you have a good sharp blade that doesn't drag. That's very important because unfortunately, a lot of times when the blade drags, it's like fighting against a dull knife. That's when you'll normally mess up, is by using a dull blade. And just like that, it's carved all the way around. Really simple process to do. With a flower like this, if you're going to have texture going up the leaf or up the petal, I like to go ahead and put that in now. And it's just a simple little process starting towards the center, and you don't have to have the same amount of hits on each petal, just as long as you're putting some texture in. It's that simple, and that's what I'm using for that is just a really large crescent tool. That's one that I made like 50 years ago. And from there, might as well go ahead and put the center in. This one here is one made by Brooks. They're a little bit difficult to find sometimes, but it is an excellent quality tool. You just don't see them very often, but Brooks is the manufacturer of that. And go ahead and sink your center in so that you have a really good impression there. Make sure that it's even all the way around. Then from there, I like to use a little tool like this. It's just a leaf liner. It's just a little bit different shape, but that one works pretty nice. Now, there's a lot of different manufacturers out there that make some wonderful tools. Bob Beard with his Pro Tools. Barry King has a lot of really great tools all as well. And there's, several other great manufacturers as well. And so you should be able to find pretty much anything you like there. And that just adds a little bit of a recess to it. From there, I like to go ahead and start the lifting process, which involves a tool like this. It's basically just a round beveler. It's not an undercut beveler. An undercut beveler is a completely different tool. Undercut beveler is like this here. And the problem with using an undercut beveler is it's kind of like a one-shot wonder. Once you get that under there, then as far as coming back with handheld petal lifters, they don't work nearly as well as if you use a round beveler. And basically they just go in here, and if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm actually raising and moving part of that leather forward towards the petal, or towards the base of the petal. And what that does is that actually gives us more material to be lifted, and so you can get your lifts higher and more pronounced by doing that. And this piece of leather here is a piece of like 7-ounce Herman oak. I predominantly use Herman oak for just about everything. And then we go back with the opposite of the round bevelers, which is the concave bevelers. Several of the makers make the concave bevelers as well. I don't have any good numbers to tell you because I'm not that familiar with all their process. But this will complete around the petals very quickly, very accurately, and it makes it a real easy job to do going around them. Now, of course, you always have to pay attention to where each petal overlaps the other petal, and so that you have to go back to the other petal sometimes just to complete the task. And it happens really quick. It's not a long process at all. So for here, we'll go with a bigger outside beveler. Bring it in and just taper it down. But you can see how fast you can actually tool a flower using tools like this. Now, that being said, Sergey from Romania has graciously started making some of my inside round bevelers, and he offers a tool set like this. He has 5 in his. These are really good tools. They're really nice tools. If you look them up on his site, it's called Hook. That's the name he put on these. But they're inside the round bevelers, and they actually work really well. He sent me a set to try out, and they work really nice. So if you get a chance, you might want to look into those because it does save you a lot of time, and they are very precise. They work really nice. So if you're ordering something from him, always pay the extra $4 or whatever it is for the shipping, because that way you'll get it a lot quicker. And just like that, we've beveled all the way around everything. And I'm just going back now and making sure that my overlap areas are done completely, and that my petal separation areas are complete. Here we go. You can see how fast that goes. It's hopefully I'm staying pretty much in camera for you. It's kind of hard for me to see if that's working or not sometimes. Okay, so there we go. We got it all beveled around there. Now the next thing we want to accomplish is going with a thumbprint. This actually gives us the recess areas in the petals. This actually gives you a lot more sculpted look. So it doesn't matter where you start, but what you want to do is, see if I can point it out to you. The flat area on the back of the thumbprint right here, straight up and down, if you locate that right at the edge of your beveled area, that will give you the correct offset as far as how far away from the edge the pear shading or thumbprinting impacts there. See, what you want is a really thin edge here. If it's too far away from that edge, it looks fat, and most flower petals aren't fat. So you're trying to make sure that lines up nice. And if you notice, I'm actually at a little bit of an angle so that we're not getting the full impression of the thumbprint. We only want like 2/3 of the impression, or we want to run it down manually like that. If you notice, I'm really not hitting it very hard. And by the way, Barry King makes one that's exactly like this, except his are a lot nicer looking than mine. But it's 11/16 by 3/16. So if you tell Barry that's the size that you want, he'll know exactly which one it is. And of course, if you run into a petal or a lobe of a petal that is too small for the big end to fit in, the other end, you turn it around and use the small end to fill it in. And I see I missed a spot here, which we all do that from time to time. Missed one of the little lobes here. So we want to make sure that we get all the way around that. There. Now, go back to doing the thumbprint. It's all about trying to make it look as natural as possible. Natural components should look like natural components. They should not be an impressionistic type of thing. I'm all about nature. You just can't beat Mother Nature as far as design and complexity of designs. Okay, that's pretty much it as far as the thumbprint. Quick, easy to do. It's no big deal. All right, so from there, we'll go ahead and we'll do our decorative cuts. But one thing I like to do is I take a stylus of some type and just round over the center seed pod here so it looks a lot more rounded. It has a little bit too hard of an edge for me. So I'll just round that off a little bit. Then just put in some simple decorative cuts. Let's see if I can turn here where you can see. And if you notice, I'm using a bigger blade here. The reason I do that is because the bigger, the thicker the blade, the more prominent your decorative cuts will be. You can see it really doesn't take much of any kind of pressure to put in some pretty nice little decorative cuts. Quick and easy, not much to it. But one thing you'll notice that, a lot of times I get the question of, well, why do we use the camouflage to begin in the beginning to put in texture when we come back and we cover it up? It's just so that it's kind of like a shadow effect in the background. And so from there, what I do is I use a matting tool, which is a smooth matting tool like this. Craft Tool used to make one. I don't remember what the number was. I think it was something like 900. But they've since done away with the smooth matting tool. But all of the tool manufacturers, they make matting tools now. So it makes it really simple. And this is one of the most important parts of creating that separation between the foreground and the background. So what we want to do is we want to go around the whole flower. And what we're doing is we're extending the beveled line farther out. And by doing that, the more separation you have between the foreground and the background, the higher, in this case, the flower would look separated from the background. So if you want your flower to look like it's floating way above it, the more you would mat around there. Now, if you notice, I'm not too concerned about any type of heel marks coming from the matting tool, and that's because we will be going back over the same areas with a textured matting tool, and so all of that will be, pretty much hidden in the process. But even just this little bit of matting makes a world of difference in how it looks. Like, look at the half over here compared to over here. See how it looks like the flower is embedded into the surface? Where over here, it's already above that. And so that's what we're looking to create, is that separation between the foreground and the background. And this is one thing that unfortunately is not taught nearly enough, because it does take time. It does add some time to your project, but it's well worth the amount of time it takes to do it. The final product is so much nicer than if you didn't do it. And it really doesn't take that long to go around one. And in case you're wondering, the maul that I'm using is an 18-ounce maul. You can get the same effect with a 16-ounce, a 17-ounce, even down to a 14-ounce. It all depends on, what fits you best, what feels right to you. Weight is a very personal type thing. And if you notice, what I'm doing now is I'm just extending the matting on out even farther just by pulling it out. You don't have to get crazy with this, as long as you're enough away from it so that you can see the difference in depth between the foreground, which is the flower, and the background. That's really all you need. Now at this point, and you can see that it's really not all that even. Of course, if you're not doing the video, you take a little bit more time, make it a little bit more precise. But I want you all to get the idea of using a matting tool. And just like that, we've already increased the depth quite a bit. So from here, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we will lift with a handheld petal lifter. This is what really brings things to life. And what we're doing is it's a cutting tool. It has to be a cutting tool. If it's not sharp, it's not going to work good. And you don't have to get crazy with lifting. but you want enough so that it's very visible and it's something that you can actually feel. Now, if you notice, I have not re-wet this at all. That's part of the reason for that is Herman oak is usually really good about retaining moisture. But also the process of preparing the leather makes a world of difference also. And we're getting really close to being done with this flower. But you can see how much difference it makes to mat around it and then do the lifting, the petal lifting. And you can see the kind of depth you get. Most of the time, you can get twice the thickness of the leather with your lifts, sometimes up to 3 times as much. So from there, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and get into the little corner areas here and just bring out a little bit of a texture. Really doesn't matter too awful much what kind of texture it is, but you want it to be able to blend into the textured matting design so that it looks continuous from the outside in and under. And of course you try to get it as even as possible. Now you can see where if you were really in a big hurry for projects, you know, this process does take a little bit longer to do. And now we're going to go with a random pebble type background. You can use whatever kind of textured matting background that you want, but this is the one, this is my favorite, just because it works good as a matting tool and a texture tool all at the same time. And being that it's a random texture, it blends together really nicely no matter what position I'm holding the tool, because I always rotate the tool as I'm using it to help with the random texture. My biggest goal by doing these videos is to help inspire people to know what they can do with practice and determination. Now, one thing you need to remember is whenever you lift an area, before that area dries, make sure that you go back and just retouch the lifted areas to make sure that they didn't get smashed down in the process of doing some other tooling. You notice I'm just doing some random light matting on the outside here. But with that, we have a completed flower with tremendous depth. It's very precise. The detail is like none other, actually. So, you know, you need to practice this. If you can't find the tools, Sergey makes the inside bevelers, the round bevelers. He calls them hook. So just get in touch with him. But that's pretty much it. There's really nothing magical about it, but you know, like I said, just go back and make sure that all your lift areas are back exactly like you had them to begin with. And that's pretty much it. So good luck. Give it a try. Let me know how it works for you, and we'll see how you turn out. Thanks for watching. Bye.